Hey, yo. So, last week I posted a video debunking the saying that comparison is the thief of joy. And I gave several reasons in the mindset. You can go watch it if you want to. It's the video before this one. But I got a comment on that video, and I'm going to make a whole video addressing that comment. Now, the guy, he starts off by kind of, glazing me a little bit. Who doesn't like to be glazed? But his question was, how do you think we can cultivate a mindset that appreciates our own journey while still learning from others? And that is, not only is that a well-worded question, but it's also something to think about. Really, there's two parts of it. And that is cultivating a mindset that appreciates your own journey. That is separate, because while learning from others, that part is kind of easy, because learning from others is, if you're clicking on this video or you click on any type of self-help content, or you read any type of books about self-improvement, that comes easily. But what does not come easily is when you're trying to make steps forward and you seem like you're so far behind everybody who has already crossed the finish line. Or there's really not a finish line, but there's different goalposts, there's different markers in life, whether that be money markers, or success, or this marker in business, or family goals, or whatever. Whenever you're comparing yourself to anybody and you fail to look at the different things that I talked about in the last video, it's kind of hard to appreciate your own journey. Now, that's what I'm going to talk about. Now, there's a couple of things that you can do. And the first thing, and this is the foundation of everything, I think, because I put a little thought in this for the past couple of days, is take a moment to appreciate your own journey. Like, this is kind of, the answer is in the question. Let me explain to you what I mean. If you're an adult, there are thousands of things that you can do now that you could not do when you were born. You could not walk. You could not talk. You could not read. You could not write. You could not drive. You couldn't do anything. Every little thing that you tie your shoe, like the little things that you did that you could do every day, that is just easy, second nature. You learned those things. And a lot of times we forget that. Whenever we're making progress towards anything, we forget how far we've came from childhood. And sometimes you might think that that's difficult, but that's very, very big, because it kind of lets you know that you can do anything. And I've used this in my own life when I'm learning Spanish. I'm taking time to learn Spanish. Entiendo español un poco y hablo muy poquito, which what I just said is I understand a little bit of Spanish and I speak even less. But when I wanted to start learning Spanish, and for me it was so difficult, I was like, man, this is so hard. But really, when you look at the basic rules of Spanish, the letters in Spanish and the words in Spanish are said exactly the way they sound. Like in English, for instance, we have two sets of vowels. We have two sets of sounds for every vowel. A is, A and I. I is I and E, et cetera, et cetera. In Spanish, all their vowel sounds have one sound. All their letters have one sound. So I, A, E, O, U is their A, E, I, O, U. And all their anything that you see with an A is going to have that I sound. So just that one concept by itself makes Spanish so much simpler than English. So when I think about how far my worst, now of course it doesn't help that in school my weakest my weakest subjects in was all about English, which was and I went to a private Christian school for 3 years, and they broke English up into 3 different freaking subjects: literature, grammar, and spelling. And I was bad at all 3 of those. But coming out of that Christian school and going to a regular high school, just my simple English classes got easier because of what I learned there. But anyway, I digress. My point is saying that even though English was my weakest subject, and I'm constantly trying to work on my English vocabulary, I learned it. And I speak English pretty freaking well when I want to. I'm more comfortable speaking in Ebonics, but I learned English, and I know I can learn Spanish too. Now, here's the thing. I spent an hour Monday through Friday learning English. And, it took me it took me years to be able to read and write on a basic level. So just by that principle, if I think I'm going to spend 5 minutes a day on Duolingo and be fluent in a year, then I'm kidding myself. But it's part of appreciating your own journey. But here's the thing. I notice, even by doing the little that I've been doing, I understand more and more. Every time I'm around people who speak Spanish and I understand more of what they're saying, it builds my confidence. Because I know where I was before I started all this. So, and I'm also aware that part of the reason I'm not where I want to be is just because of my lack of focus. The more I focus on it, the better I am. The more time I put in it, the better I will be. So appreciating your own journey, it really just starts with, again, appreciating your own journey. Identifying how far you've come and realizing that you've gotten better. That's self-confidence is trust in yourself to do a certain thing. So that's what you need to do. And as far as the part about while learning from others, again, like I said earlier, that's really the easy part. If you read a book, if you take the time to read a book, which is usually a big part of somebody's life and experiences that they've condensed into something that you can take, 4 to 12 hours to read, that's powerful. It's very powerful. And if you read their book, almost every self book I've read that was, had their life story in it, there was challenges. They just didn't breeze through it. If it was, now there are certain skills. Sometimes when you read this book, I can see somebody's genius in a book or even in videos. Here's an example. Brandon Carter. He's somebody that I admire, and he's one of my top 5 gurus here on YouTube. And he really motivated me to get started. Well, excuse me, not motivated, because you can only motivate yourself, really. He inspired me to go ahead and make more moves, because most of the time when I would watch people, Myron Golden, Ed Mylett, Dan Martell, Alex Hormozy, these guys, when I would watch them, I would listen and they would say wisdom, but I would always feel like that they had something special that I lacked. You know what I mean? I felt like there was something that they had that made their journey easier for them that I really couldn't duplicate. Now, here's the thing. Brandon Carter, I listen to him and I'll be like, this man's an idiot. This man's an idiot, but he's a multi-millionaire and he's very successful. But here's the thing. What I identified about him is he just has a very large amount, almost an unrealistic amount of focus and discipline. He has an ability to be discipled or to learn somebody else's discipline. You know what I mean? So that's something that I can develop. So what I'm saying is, All you got to do is appreciate your own journey. Look at how far that you've come. I hate answering your question with your question, but it really is what it is. You appreciate your own journey because you can identify how far you've come. No matter what you're doing now, if you've been doing something for a couple of months, you're better at it now than when you started. And once you see your growth, you can see your potential. And growth is the difference between where you are now and where you were in the past. And potential is the difference between where you are now to where you will be in the future. So just keep that in mind. And know that anybody who started off at the top is because they were handed to them. And so, but eventually if you go far enough down the line, somebody had to build it. So just appreciate that. Hope that answers the question. Have a nice day.